Hello. How are you? Are you okay? He said sort of Buddhist. Sort of.
Yeah. I have my own ideas. I try to take from a lot of religion.
You sound American.
I do. I know. I'm not American.
You aren't, are you? German.
I'm from Holland. I'm Dutch.
Ah, yeah, of course. How could I get you wrong? I do apologize for offending you.
No, you don't offend me, man.
I like that. You know, you are good. Sorry, would you like some water, sir?
I have water on me.
You have? What is your name? Sorry.
Bear. Bear.
Bear?
Yes.
Shabir. Eh?
He's a bear, he's not going to eat you.
Nazir and?
Yeah, Shabir.
Shabir. Right.
Yeah. You need to tell me a bit about yourself.
All right.
And what it is you are doing. Is this a prayer bead?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's just for breathing, you know.
Breathing?
Yeah.
Also, you control your breath while you are.
Yeah. Just keeps you calm, you know.
Oh, right, okay. And what are these symbols?
They're sort of my own philosophy in a sense.
Your own philosophy?
Yeah.
So what do they mean?
These robes are based on philosophy of a philosopher that I really like.
And which one is that?
His name is Robert Pirsig. He was an American philosopher. He wrote the American philosophy classic called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it became a bestseller, and basically it's a book about the conflict between science and religion.
Oh, right.
And so
I see, okay.
he basically came up with, he felt that in Eastern philosophy, like in the Eastern religions, like in specifically Buddhism, deals with the ever-changing nature of the world more accurately or more sufficiently than the Western science looks at the world. And so he came up with a philosophy to sort of expand science. And so what he did is come up with a new philosophy that was coherent with science, but could also go beyond the limits of science.
Right, okay.
Because right now, and this is also my opinion, I feel that there are a lot of things that we are sort of, as a culture, on the entire world, we're just shoving a lot of phenomena that people are genuinely experiencing.
Yes.
We're that under the carpet and saying, oh, we can't measure it, and therefore it's not objective, so it's not scientific, so we're going to pretend those things aren't real.
Yes.
Exactly. And so I know that there's a whole lot that we do not understand, but I do feel that it is sort of our responsibility, and it's also very fun to just find out and try to approach them as rationally as we can. And I believe that there's a form of science where we can approach these things that previously we would call primitive or unscientific or religious, and shoving it away as nonsense, but actually approaching them. So what I find very interesting right now is that you have a lot of studies that are done on, say, meditation or prayer or whatever, and it actually alleviates anxiety.
True.
There are all these things that are happening in the brain, and so it's like, you know, I don't want everything to reduce everything down to science. But
I see.
In order to like pragmatically approach all the problems that we're encountering within this field, let's go for it. Let's make the steps.
Absolutely.
You know?
Why just dismiss things just because you don't understand them properly?
Yes.
Yeah.
So sorry. Like it's a very hard thing.
I understand.
To explain. So the philosophy of this philosopher was that he tried to make a scientifically sound philosophy that would also go beyond the limits of science.
Yeah.
And so to back that up, he tried to embed it in Darwinism, like evolutionary thinking.
Theory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what he did is separate reality in 4 layers, actually 5, but 4 layers that have to do with human beings specifically.
Yeah.
So at first, say there was a Big Bang.
It doesn't matter how, who, what, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Just it happened.
Right, it happened.
Yeah.
And then first, and this is the first layer, but he doesn't really mention it specifically, is say the immaterial layer. So everything is there except there's no life.
Yeah.
Then came the biological layer.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be the monkey. That would
be
this
him.
thing. Yes.
It.
On top of that, so you get monkeys, and then we evolve and we become humans. But there's a certain difference between, say, people and animals.
Right. Okay.
Right? People are actually social.
Yeah.
If you'd replace every human right now here in this place with chimpanzees, it would be pandemonium.
It would. Chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Animals can't do that. And so we cooperate. We have this social thing going on.
Yeah.
So this is the second layer. This is the social world.
Right. Okay.
Then, you've had this entire era where we're just, cooperating with each other and just communicating, all that stuff. But we weren't as sophisticated yet. Right? We couldn't have like
a conversation the way we are having.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's highly sophisticated.
True.
So on top of that comes the intellectual layer.
That's
this one.
Right. Okay.
And then I feel fascinating, like talking about these three layers.
Yes.
But what I'm interested in for myself specifically,
the ultimate one,
is exactly,
yeah.
and especially like the gray area between here.
Yes.
And so this would be like the dynamic or spiritual dimension. And I feel that
the source of peace and perfection.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And so yeah.
That's interesting. That is. So what I mean, I can see the prayer beads. Surely this philosopher didn't mention these, did he?
No. This is my own thing.
Right.
Yeah. So a thing that he also associated with like the spiritual layer, because in the same sense, I think science doesn't really understand creativity, and so what science does is it measures everything.
Yes.
And so what I think that science doesn't understand, and that scientists sort of miss or shove under the carpet, is that there has to be a sort of creative element at work in order to do scientific work.
Yes.
Okay, like you need to have a hypothesis.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is about science and the scientific method is that basically science is pretty much only good for testing what you think you already know.
Right. Yes.
And so testing and going where you already think you were. But there isn't anything in the scientific method that tells you where to look, like what's better.
Right.
And so the scientific method doesn't say how do you come up with hypothesis. That comes purely from within, purely from the science.
It is subjective. Yeah.
Whereas what we always say about science is it's all this super objective enterprise. You're just sort of this god or this alien that's removed from everything, and you're looking at the world as if you have nothing to do with the world. That's wrong.
True.
We are inherently intertwined with everything that's going on.
Yes.
And so
I can see what you mean exactly. Carry on. You're doing a good job.
And so
you've lost the train of thought, haven't you?
A little bit, but I was talking about creativity.
Yes.
So what's funny?
And the scientific
what's funny about this
method?
Robert Pirsig, this philosopher, said that in essence, the highest form of being, in a sense, could be regarded as art.
Right.
And
okay.
so
yes.
because scientists basically they have this entire framework of what they are doing.
Yeah.
But in a sense, artists are beyond themselves. They are beyond what they know.
Okay.
Like you can have a scientist and he can recite an entire theory or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's this completely different thing at work the moment an artist puts a canvas in front of him and he doesn't know what's going to be on the canvas. And so it's a total mystery.
Yes.
And a thing that's very interesting about this book that he has written is that normally philosophy is like written very dry, you know? I don't know if you've
I know what you mean.
ever read a philosophy book,
yes,
but
I have.
To me, it's very tiring. It's very dry.
Yes.
And so what's interesting about his two books is that he has embedded his philosophy in a novel. And so not only
there's creative writing at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he ties it into a story, so it actually becomes interesting. Like, wow, this is very fun to read, and I'm learning something.
Yeah.
And so I feel, because I think that his philosophy is one of the most accurate theories around right now that can describe all the phenomena of the world. I thought, okay, let me go a step further and go beyond himself, in a sense.
I see what you mean.
And
so did you ever consider what his source was?
What his source was? Eastern philosophy.
Which one?
He spoke specifically about Zen Buddhism.
Right.
That's also a big inspiration of mine.
Right.
So here on the back is a Buddhist mandala. But
yes, but you have taken. Yeah, I was about to say you put your take on it. Right. Okay. But is that the form that doesn't necessarily accommodate a creator? Zen Buddhism.
That's very hard. That's a very hard question to
I
answer.
know. It's worth discussing.
Yeah. The funny thing about Zen Buddhism is that it says a lot about, it delves a lot into the nature of categorization.
Yeah.
And so,
but don't you think sorry to interject.
No problem.
Don't you think there seems to be a correlation between that particular perspective and the scientific method in terms of categorization?
I think science and the Western mind, if I may put it like
Yes.
that, is obsessed with categorization.
Yeah.
So before we can basically there are a lot of things that we do not understand right now and we do not have names for, and
Yeah.
we can't sort of approach.
True.
But in Western culture, we only take things to be real as soon as we can identify and name them.
Yeah. Anything else is beyond
Exactly.
the purview.
And so Zen Buddhism has a very different take on a lot of things, and specifically the categorization of things. And so within Zen Buddhism, there are all these practices in order to sort of speed up the intellect.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
to exhaust it in a sense.
Right, yeah.
They say that sort of a true understanding of reality is beyond knowledge. It's beyond the intellect.
Right.
And so they have a very big emphasis on not thinking, not naming, not categorizing things.
Right.
And so while I do feel that Zen Buddhism is ahead in a sense, or
I understand,
sophisticated in this particular area, there are a lot of things that are sort of echoed, which are very developed in Zen Buddhism, but which you can also see in other religions.
Right,
So,
okay.
for example, the reason why it's forbidden to depict the god in Judaism, for example, is because you are not allowed to idolize it. As soon as you give it a picture, you confuse you run the risk of confusing the image for the thing itself. And so the stance of Zen Buddhism in a lot of these things is that they go even a step further. Is that you can certainly get attached to idols and images and prayers and all that stuff, but they say that the worst idols we have are actually our ideas. We are clinging to them. And so when you ask me what is the nature of God, the best Zen Buddhist answer I could give you, just stay silent. Stay silent, say nothing. I think that is more
I can see the logic behind it. I can see the logic behind it, because the moment you try and describe, you are going to be putting limits.
You actually fall short. And so Zen Buddhism is very is very influenced by Taoism, which is ancient religion of the Chinese. And so the most famous book the most famous document in Taoism is called the Tao Te Ching.
Right.
And on the first page, it is said, like, one of the first few lines is, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. And then he basically admits that whatever I say right now is never ever going to be the thing that I actually want to talk about. It is useless.
But
like words are
absolutely. Do you know what you are saying? Do you think that this was the product of a human being, or was it an idea that originated from an external source?
What you mean? Do you mean like the creation of the universe?
The creator, the idea of a creator. Do you know, as you said rightfully, that if you are asked about the nature of the creator, the best answer is remain silent.
Exactly.
Okay? Then if you look, you call it the Tao Te Ching, and I've always known it as the Tao Te Ching, okay?
Right.
But whatever it is, it will have had an origin.
Right. So I was here 2 weeks ago, and I've had a conversation with.
Good. You'll make life easier for me then, isn't it?
I've had a conversation with a very intimidating, huge Arabic dude, and
with a beard.
Yes.
Muhammad Hijab.
Yep. Yes.
He is intimidating. You have to keep looking up there.
He turned out to be very friendly.
He is.
I had a good
He's a gentle giant.
Yes, exactly.
When he feels like wanting to be.
But it took me like 5 minutes to oh shit.
I know exactly what I'm going to be very calm on this one and see what happens. No, but would it be an origin point? Was it as a result of a human construct, or was it an external source that provided the necessary information for us to even primarily develop the idea of a creator?
I'm not sure that the idea of creation is sort of a human...
Not creation, creator.
All right. There's like scientifically speaking, I think
Whichever
there's no way of
speaking.
telling. But I think what you want me to get closer to.
No. Well, I want us to discuss, by the way.
Yeah,
It's not, yeah, let me make that clear. You see, when you talk about the scientific method, my take is on this. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and somehow the subject matter turned out to be black holes, and he says, you know what, the understanding is that black holes recede into infinity. I said, no, that can't be possible. Now I'm not saying that I have got an astrophysicist background, but I said, no, I don't think so. I said, you see, the sum of everything that is limited is going to be limited. You can't have something. Are you following?
I've had this entire conversation.
Have you? Right, good. So you know where I'm going. So I'm telling the guy, I said, no, that's impossible. A black hole also, by definition, is going to be limited. The question is, where does it go?
Exactly.
Where does it
Very
suddenly?
mysterious.
But whatever it is still contained within the universe.
And so,
it can't be anything beyond.
And so here's the thing. This argument.
I
it's
understand.
very difficult for me to summarize.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. Sure.
But this was a long line of argument that we had for 2 hours, and there was something that I was developing there in order to make him understand like my viewpoint.
Right. Okay.
And so he was
2 hours.
Yeah, we had a long
we'll take 15 minutes.
So it basically came with the question like, where everything comes, like everything that there is must have come from something. And I say, all right. So basically what we are talking about right now is how can something come out of nothing?
Okay.
Like this is that scientists asking themselves one day when they have like the Big Bang. And it was what was there before the Big Bang? And they say, well, there was no before the Big Bang because time didn't exist yet. And I was like, but what then did exist before there was the Big Bang, before time existed? Because when you're talking about nothing, you're speaking like as literally as you can take it. You're actually speaking about nothing. And so the line I developed over the 2 hours with Mohammed was that whenever we use the word nothing, we're actually always saying something.
True.
But we're not looking at that. And so, in a sense, what science has a very hard time dealing with, and for decades now we're shoving under the carpet and saying no, it doesn't exist. We're not going to take to it. It's all irrational. It's all bullshit. Is the fact that we dream. Right? I'm not saying that all of the dream analysts that are all there are all right, and that there's these super magical stuff happening when we're dreaming, all that stuff. It's like, no, but dreaming is actually a real phenomenon. But scientifically speaking, there's a very few people that are actually approaching it in a rational way and actually taking it like, okay, how are we going to fit this into the scientific framework? And so Mohammed actually brought up a very materialist scientist in our conversation. He said, you sound a bit like Richard Dawkins.
Oh, right.
And it's like, no. I'm not Richard Dawkins. And I'll give you an example.
Thankfully.
When Richard Dawkins wakes up in the morning and he just had a dream, if you ask him, what did you have just now? He said, I'll have a dream, but it's nothing. It's like, no. What did you have? No, it's nothing. It's like, no. You had a real experience, but you have a very hard time dealing with it objectively and rationally. What did you have? All right, I had a dream. It's like, all right. So it was something. You didn't experience nothing.
True.
And so another example is whenever we walk into a room, we say this room's empty. If you ask that person who is standing in the empty room, what is in the room? He'll say nothing. Well, that's not what's happening.
We understand.
Well, literally speaking, nothing is absolutely nothing. And so, like in the line of your own logic, that black holes must have limits. In a sense.
Absolutely.
I would then also say that it is because we seem to be in like this reality bubble in a sense. Right? There are constraints.
Yes.
Whenever you say that something is nothing, you're actually linking the word nothing to a thing that you do not want to acknowledge.
Okay.
And so from the point of Zen Buddhism, they have a completely different take on the nature of nothingness, which is also why there's this big thing that they have for emptiness. So when you come to a Zen Buddhist temple, there's barely anything. The Japanese have this completely cultural embracing of of emptiness, right?
Yeah.
Our living rooms are very, very spacious. Every table that you that they have, most of the time you can just fold it and put it away because they just like to have room in a sense.
Yes.
So it's just completely embedded and linked into the culture.
A development into nothingness, emptiness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what the point of view is from Zen Buddhism is that as much as science would like to argue that nothingness is in fact nothing, pure nothing, but I don't think that pure nothing can ever exist.
No.
We have to look at the nothingness or nothing that they speak of as a very, 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 very elusive thing. And so a thing that is said in Zen Buddhism is that it's not so much that how did something come out of nothing, but something and nothing arise mutually.
Okay.
Now, how did something and nothing come out of what?
Yes.
That is the more appropriate question.
Yeah.
And so, is there a creator? Does it matter? I don't think so.
So that's your answer to my question about the point of origin.
Yeah, well,
Right. Okay.
Because
I know what you mean. But you know what? A very important thing that I was picking up on, in your narrative.
Yeah.
You see, the point of origin of anything has to be considered duly. Yeah. We can't just say that we have picked it up from 50% and decided to run with it and create our own other 50%. We can do that, but it doesn't necessarily make it correct. Am I right in my reasoning?
I don't like.
Okay, I'll just follow the train anyway. Okay. Zen Buddhism, I would suggest, had its origin from when, under the Bodhgaya tree, he received his enlightenment. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. There was a source there, wasn't there? There had to be. He received it from another source.
Oh yeah. I think.
Guaranteed, he had to have received it. Now the narrative goes to us that while he was there, this thing appeared which we would only consider to be a negative force, call it the devil, call it what you want. Yes, fired arrows of fire, and by the time they arrived, they became lotus flowers. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
no.
Fair enough.
I'd love to hear.
Fair enough. Don't matter.
I love
it's
to
okay.
learn.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of mythology and all that stuff.
Are you considering the movement you are following a myth?
No.
You just said mythology.
Right. So what I've been trying to explain earlier is that Zen Buddhism is beyond the realm of the intellect, so to speak.
So it's beyond the realm of the intellect, so you are concluding it's a myth.
No.
Oh, good.
No,
I'm
I'm just talking to you. So
right. Okay.
As futile as words are,
I understand.
I'm going to use words to make myself comprehensible.
Try and understand.
But what I'm actually believing in
is something else.
I
know what you mean. Yeah.
And so,
I agree with you.
So what all Eastern philosophy, all Eastern religion is very much about is the idea of non-dualism.
Yes.
Right. So transcending binary categories of right and wrong, of left and right, of good and evil, of objective and subjective, of truth and lies and all that stuff. It's like no. The truth that is more true than anything is beyond those two categories, and also beyond the intellect in itself.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. Sorry, finish.
Like,
go ahead, say it the way it is. Don't worry. Yeah, I just look handsome. Don't worry. Just go. Go for it.
Right. So what
That's it. Take it out.
So what I mean to say is that I'm very I would, like, if I'd have to put a label on myself.
Yes.
And this label I feel very defines me. And
yes.
Puts me
it
in a
will
box,
limit you.
And I don't like it. It limits me.
I understand.
But if I have to, like, for convenience, I would consider myself a pragmatic mystic. And so
I like that.
There are all these questions about
mystic.
The nature of reality and all that stuff. It's like no. I want to come to the edge of what I think I know and what I think I do not know, and see if I can, like, step over this barrier
I see what you mean.
Expand my knowledge.
I can agree. I see what you mean.
Like,
I know what you mean.
In all honesty, I'm not very interested in whether there is
a creator
or whatever.
Understood.
Understood. To give you an example, like a quote that I very much like of a philosopher called Alan Watts. He used to interpret a lot of Eastern philosophy. He said, Zen Buddhist spirituality does not confuse spirituality with ideas about God when you're peeling potatoes.
Right.
Zen Buddhist spirituality is just to peel the potatoes.
Yeah, I see.
And so
what you mean.
what was a very funny thing when I was talking to Mohammed for about two hours is that we had this entire conversation about theology and like all these big areas,
different,
right? It just takes you away. It's like you become so ingrained in the entire conversation that you sort of lose the entire world around you.
I see what you mean. Well, I can see that, but Bart, don't you think, from the perspective I'm seeing here, and please tell me if I'm wrong, the ultimate source or the absolute source of your peace and contentment will only be realized from your perspective only? Am I right?
Yes, in a sense.
Yeah, okay. Can we then translate that to each and every human individual? Bearing in mind that the reality is that we live in what we consider ourselves to be a society, and where there are going to be different modes of thinking, different modes of action. How would you deal with that?
Yes and no.
Well, tell me the yes and then tell me the no.
Right. The yes, in a sense, is because even though I feel that words are very futile, we can actually have a conversation with each other and sort of remotely understand each other. And see.
But when you say words are very futile in the context of human interaction, what other source can we have apart from language?
Zen Buddhism does this by direct pointing. Yeah, exactly.
Should I remain silent while I'm pointing?
Yeah, it could be.
What am I saying? It won't work. Yeah, but I can understand the point of view.
Right. So,
but how do you?
The yes part is for as futile as words are, I do actually believe they're valuable, which is actually the reason why, say, the founder of Taoism, or why he's considered the historical founder of Taoism, but he didn't ever want to be some sort of initiatory figure of, well, we're going to make a new religion. He was not about that at all. Even though he said words are futile, he still wrote the Tao Te Ching. And so I still think it's valuable.
Strange, isn't it?
It's very strange. It's very funny.
Yes.
But I still think talking is good.
Of course.
But so here's the no part. I think that even though like religion and philosophy or any form of communication can actually...
Excuse me, sorry, I'm diverting. Are you married?
No.
And you think talking is good? It's okay, carry on. It's okay, just a joke, I threw it in. No offense, no offense. Go ahead.
So I think talking is good, and it can actually help and benefit individuals.
Absolutely.
But I think to come to a true understanding, or what you said, like peace within yourself, there has to be an element that completely comes from within, from the individual. And so while you can absolutely benefit from outside sources, there has to be something that is completely within yourself that has sort of little to do with the outside world in order to actually come to that point where your entire world is turned upside down, and you're like,
I can understand,
all right, I understand a whole lot more now, and I'm a lot more at peace.
I can fully see that. But you know and I know that the reality that we are surrounded by and we face has got a fringe element of what we would call or consider to be criminally inclined individuals. We agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, no matter what they associate themselves with, you know, they may consider it Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, whatever it may be. Yeah, don't worry about it. He's just excited. It's oh, sorry. So they will associate themselves with certain things. However, the way I look at it, my perspective here, if somebody asks me what is the true nature of the Creator, I cannot say I know the answer. I cannot do that. However, it does beg this question that, look, I seem to view the world, and it leads me to this conclusion that there was a source that had this whole thing begun. And if I'm correct in my reasoning, then that source needs to be known. Don't you think that's a logical question to ask?
Yes, but I don't think it can be known.
Okay. But that can only be based on the assumption. I see what you mean. But that can only be based on the assumption that we have all the necessary answers. Do you?
Oh, no.
Well, if you don't have
very clear.
Absolutely. If we don't have the necessary answers, then there is a question that yet remains to be answered about the very nature of the Creator.
Right.
Are you following?
I do, but like I said, I regard myself as if I'd have to label myself as a pragmatic mystic.
Yeah.
And so, I personally think, and this is also what I said to Mohammed, we could have this conversation forever. And the reason why scientists won't talk to you is because they know they could talk to you about this forever and still disagree with you. Whatever. And so, all things considered, I see where you're coming from. I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree, but I also don't necessarily agree.
Yeah, true.
But I take the pragmatic stance. All right, let's find out.
Yes.
And so instead of say what we're talking about, like the Creator, like if we're ever going to get there, and I believe we will, for all intents and purposes. If I'd have to pin a point conceptually where we would be, like if we are humanity right now, and we'd have to get that point. Let's say that tree where those people are sitting over there is that point where we reach that knowledge.
Yes.
I'm not very interested in talking about that tree because we're still here. Let's see what's the first
next step
we sort of have to take. And so here's the thing that I'll share with you that I find very interesting. Is I've had a lot of problems with depression and all that stuff. Things in my past have been sort of screwed.
I understand.
I think also that this is like a lot of what that I would call like unconscious atheists, like people who do not believe in God without ever having asked themselves why they hold this viewpoint.
Why they hold the viewpoint.
They just brush it off like religion is all bullshit and it's all to seduce, control the masses. It's like, well, yeah, sure. Religion has been used for like to oppress people. We can talk about all of the corruption in the Christian church and all that stuff. But to argue that there haven't been genuine religious experiences and genuine individuals that actually have benefited from taking up religion or entering into spirituality is just complete nonsense to me.
Of course.
And so what's really holding our world back right now is in like healthcare, which I very take personally because if some things in my life would have gone a bit differently, I wouldn't be here.
I understand.
I would have probably ended up in a closed home for like problematic children, or worst cases, I would have ended up in jail. Or another worst case, I would have ended up in a psychiatric ward. Or even worse, I may even have like committed suicide or whatever. And so I think there's a lot of things in say clinical modern psychology and psychiatry right now, like in the world of regular medicine and mental health care, that does not sufficiently come with an explanation of some areas of human experience. And so there's plenty of people who come to a psychologist, think that they can actually like be completely open and honest with them, and they'll get this label that they are schizophrenic or whatever, and they'll just pop them up full with pills, and they even go more down the road. And so psychiatry and medical healthcare, psychology has been an absolute standstill right now for decades. And the entire industry is sort of begging, like, we have to change something. And so what's very funny right now is that we banned the use of psychedelics in the 60s. Because we did not know what the hell they were, what they were doing,
and what
and
the
all
consequences
that stuff.
were.
But people are still like depression is skyrocketing all over the world. Male suicide
including
is
young
skyrocketing. Exactly.
Sadly,
like there's an epidemic of 14-year-old girls right now cutting themselves.
They're committing suicide.
What they say is that it's probably also a lot due to the influence of social media. It's a very bad thing. And so a thing that I'm very excited about right now is that there's a bunch of universities all over the world and laboratoria that are actually clinically testing people with depression and who are terminally diagnosed with cancer. And they are testing not only with people who suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, with MDMA, and that seems to alleviate a lot of problems.
Right.
But more interestingly, because I think that ties a lot more to a bunch of things that we do not understand, they do a lot of testing with people who are terminally ill with cancer, and they do testing with magic mushrooms, so psilocybin. And a funny thing, a result that has come from that is that immediately after such a trip, it's an 80% chance that a terminally ill cancer patient will say that they are vastly alleviated from their depression and are like 80% less afraid of dying. And so what scientists have a very time dealing with is what they experience during such a trip.
Okay.
It's like we can say that it's all nonsense what they experience, because there are a bunch of things. People say that they have divine encounters and all that stuff. Scientifically speaking, for now, we do not know what those people are experiencing when they have these trips. And scientists, because they're very afraid of like looking into this dimension, but which is actually changing right now, is they're saying, oh, it's all up in your head, it's all nonsense, it's all bullshit, you're just imagining, you're hallucinating. And it's like, all right, all things considered, let's be scientific about it. We've done this testing. We have like major skyrocketing epidemic of depression and suicide and all this stuff. And people are actually reporting, regardless of whether it is objectively true or real what they are experiencing. We can statistically show that these testings are actually helping people. Why not find it out? And so that is where I am right now, from the viewpoint of as a pragmatic mystic in a sense. And so I think that there were some very interesting developments in the 60s with, say, the use of psychedelics such as LSD and mushrooms and all that stuff. This is also what I said to Muhammad. That doesn't mean that I endorse hedonism. I think that's very bad. We have to do things responsibly. And these psychedelics, I do not think they are tools for entertainment. I think they're genuinely, you could call them like sacred healing tools. I think they have been used for thousands of years by a lot of cultures that are no longer around right now. I mean, people in the Amazon and all that stuff, which is also a big thing right now, is the drinking of ayahuasca, which is actually skyrocketing right now in popularity right now. And so for me, it's like, all right, what we've had right now, like with the scientific revolution, which I think started, say, with Copernicus saying that it's not that everything in the universe, like all of the planets and the sun, all that stuff, is orbiting around the Earth. Scientifically speaking, we are orbiting around the sun. That was like a huge shift in perspective. And so right now I feel that, say, the moon landing is not as impressive as what Copernicus did. I mean, as soon as we knew that, it's like, all right, so now we know how our things work.
Able to take
now we're going to the moon. I think that over 80 years we can go even further and go to another planet. It's like, why would we want to go there? I feel that the next step in a true revolution for humanity is understanding the mind.
Of course.
And so for me, it's like we are completely in the dark and blind when it comes to what happens when a terminally ill cancer patient takes magic mushrooms. Of course. And has this experience and is better off of it for the rest of their lives. For as long as they are blessed to have a beating heart. You know?
Absolutely.
And so for me, it's like, kind of zoom in on that. That's
absolutely, I can understand. Bear, can I just ask, how old are you?
23.
You are 23, a young man. I tell you what, Bear. You know, the way I look at things, as a whole, just to come to a sort of conclusion, as a whole, I look at life, and the realities of life are what you just described for the past few minutes. About how people are affected by depression, how they're affected by a huge amount of what we would call psychological attacks. Which results in them taking certain courses of action. thankfully you are out of that particular dark place you were, okay?
Yeah.
But the reality is that it is there.
Yes.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalam. How are you? Alhamdulillah. You're right. Yeah. The reality is that it is there. I would want to come across a system in totality which will be able to deal with all that plus some more.
All right.
Yeah. And I will tell you this, Bar. Yeah. Have you read the Quran?
No, but I will.
I'm going to give you a gift if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Muhammad, can I have a Quran, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm giving my brother a gift.
Why not?
Yeah.
The best gift you can
All
Yeah.
right, that's a good one.
That's
Thank
a gift
you.
from you, sir.
Thank you.
From me to you, sir. I
Thank
said
you.
from you. Okay. No, you are most welcome. Yeah.
Yes,
in a
please.
glass.
It's been a pleasure
Grab a
speaking
glass.
to you, and carry on your journey, Bear.
I will.
Yeah. Don't
will.
stop on it. Okay.
The funny thing is, this is the first time I've been here, like wearing this thing.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Mohammed without wearing this.
All right,
And then
okay.
at the end of the conversation, was like, "So, what are you? Are you an agnostic?" I'm like, "No."
That's good.
Can I
That's-
tell you? Can I tell you a funny story though?
Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
So what I feel, what it boiled down to, right? This is a very holy book, so I'm going to put it away instead of.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Alaikum salam. How are you, brother? Alhamdulillah. You okay? Good. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam. How are you?
Came all the way from Liverpool just to.
Well, alhamdulillah, to come here and have a. Yeah, absolutely.
Saw you, boy.
I can tell by the accent. Alhamdulillah. They'll all be here, inshallah. Yeah. He'll make your day. Yeah, sorry.
So what I closed off with in my conversation with Mohammed was that ultimately I felt that what it basically boiled down to was whether we can explain the entire universe.
Right, okay.
And I'd been saying that this is impossible. That the true understanding, the true working of things can't possibly ever be put into words.
Yeah.
As soon as you put it into words, it becomes something different than what the true nature of actually the things are. And so I basically close off with this.
Right.
Because by that time, a lot of other people chipped into the conversation.
course, yeah, and then it
started
loses
talking
its
to
way.
him and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I said, all right, Mohammed, speak with these all other people, but before I go, and I have
Yes.
50 minutes left,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you one question and then tell you a little story.
Yeah.
And so there was this little window of time where I could ask my question. I said, all right, all things considered, Mohammed, because I think personally, in my viewpoint, it all boils down to this. Do you think that the universe can be explained? And he had a big smile on his face. He said, yes. I said, well, that's our disagreement. I think
Right.
we can put things into words.
I see.
And then I added to that, right? It doesn't mean that I do think we should not use words, because
obviously.
otherwise it's like, then why do Zen Buddhists talk then? And obviously I really like
Point.
speaking. And
Yeah.
so what's funny is that you have all these stories in Zen Buddhism, and they are very direct. There's like a point to them, but as soon as you have to explain the point, you destroy the story. You destroy the point
I
of the
see
story.
what you mean. Yeah.
And so I said to Mohammed, well, right, I don't think I can ever come across, explain to you how I experience things and how I view things and all that stuff for the sole purpose of not being able to put it into words.
Yeah.
But I can give you a funny story as an illustration. So there's this story of a Zen Buddhist master and his student.
Okay.
And then the student walks by, the student and the master have this lesson, and they're describing the nature of reality.
Yeah.
And at some point, the master picks up a stone, and he comes to the student and he says, "What is this?" And the student says, "That's a stone." He says, No, what is this? "Oh, that's a stone." And the master says to the student, "No. Stone? That's a sound. This?
Is this?
This is this."
Yeah.
Right. Second day.
Yeah, okay.
Second day.
Yeah.
The student comes to the master. The master picks up a stone. He says to the student, "What is this?" The student is silent. He doesn't respond. The master's very happy because he
Yeah.
got the point.
Okay.
All right. Then the third day, the student comes to the master. The Zen master, all right, no. I gave it. That's the wrong thing. On the third day, the student is just walking on his way to the master.
Right.
The master is hiding somewhere. Then suddenly, the student gets hit by something, and he's really hurt. And he turns around and he sees the master laughing at him. He says, "Master, what did you just do?" And the master responds, "I just threw a stone at your head."
Okay.
Do you understand?
No, I don't understand. Tell me.
I'm not going to explain it. No, I'm going to destroy the thing.
But then how am I going to understand if you aren't going to explain?
Yeah, I think you missed the point by me screwing up the third day.
You did.
Right,
You did.
right. So
it happens.
I'm not supposed to do this.
It happens. Go on.
If there are any Japanese Zen Buddhists around here
Don't
right
worry.
now, they would
are
actually.
not listening.
So the thing is he's on the first day he asks the student what it is,
Yes.
and he tries to teach the student that what he says an object is never the object itself.
Yeah.
And so on the
Its
second
true
day,
nature is not what you claim
exactly,
it to be.
it's not the word. And so on the second day, the master tests the student in order to see if he understood it.
Yeah, the point.
And he doesn't respond, so he gets the point.
Yeah.
Then on the third day, the master throws a stone at its head.
Yeah.
The student says, "What did you just do?" And he said, "I just threw a stone at your head." And so what you see first is the lesson of the word is not the object itself.
Yeah.
On the second day, the student understands that and he doesn't respond. But on the third day, the master sort of comes full circle and uses the word to describe a thing that he has previously taught the student that he shouldn't use to describe the object.
Yeah.
And so this is actually a sort of very formal, a very direct way of showing that even though words are futile, doesn't mean we shouldn't use them.
Absolutely, of course. No. I fully understand. You know, taking everything into consideration, the one thing you will find bare is this, that every human being is going to have their journey to the ultimate, whatever that may be according to their subjective experiences. But there is, like I said earlier on, there is a system which is of divine origin. I'm not specifying what that divinity is, but there is a system of divine origin, and it is incumbent on every human being to actually search for that. However they want to search, that is entirely their decision. But there has to be something which can deal with the subjectivity of the human being and the objective reality that he is faced with. And that is what I would think.
I totally agree.
Pleasure speaking to you, sir. Anything untoward said, please do forgive me. That was not the intention. But you carry on with your journey, my brother.
You too, man. You too.
Look after yourself.